Hello and welcome to the RC Industry Podcast, episode 96. For those of you new to the show, I'm comedian Simon Caine, and this is the podcast where I interview the most influential people from the worlds of stand-up, comedy, radio, and today, Edinburgh comedy promotion. Ben Verth and John Millar are two of the four Barrel Boys who founded Monkey Barrel Comedy Club. This place is an amazing purpose-built venue that rose from the ashes of Ben's original club in the Grassmarket in Edinburgh known as the Beehive. We got into the future of the Edinburgh Fringe, the future of Scottish promotion and the circuit, and why they were so sensitive about keeping the new venture quiet until they were 100% sure it was going to go live. We also covered a little bit about crowdfunding, because if you're a regular listener you will know that we've covered a couple of comedy clubs in the past who have crowdfunded their venue, and you can scroll back and have a look through them if you want. We talk about why Ben and John and the entire team decided not to go that route, and so much more. I think you're going to get loads out of it, whether you're a comedian who's interested in doing the Edinburgh Festival, potentially at their venue, or if you're just interested in gigging more up in Scotland, or if you're an audience member who is just interested in what's going on behind the scenes and where this comedy club sprung up from, seemingly out of nowhere. Before I forget, our first ever day of panels is coming up on the 17th of February. It's from midday till 5 p.m. and it's at the Bill Murray in Angel. It's specifically for people who are doing their first hour at the Edinburgh Festival or who are looking at going up and doing their first show at the Edinburgh Festival. Personally, I think a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this, and it's going to provide a lot of answers and debunk a lot of myths. Come down with your questions. There'll be 3 panels. There'll be one that includes a bunch of venue owners where you can ask them stuff about how they run, how they operate, how to know what room to pick with them, how to avoid pitfalls that they've seen people make time and time again. I'm also going to have one with a bunch of PRs, which allow you to ask them exactly what they do for you, exactly what they won't do for you, exactly when to approach them, how to approach them, what not to do, all the stuff that you're used to with this podcast, but you can ask your own questions directly. And in between every panel, there'll be time to mingle and chat. It's in the Bill Murray in Angel in London. I'm sorry if you're abroad. I can't help the location of where I live, but as I said, it will be recorded. If you buy a ticket, you'll get a free copy of that recording. If you're a patron, you'll also get a free copy of that recording. If you want to buy a copy of that recording, it'll be on sale a few months after the day itself, so please do keep an eye out for that. Tickets are £20. There's a link in the show notes, and I'm doing it as a profit share for me and all the guests, which means that they can have a bit of money to cover their expenses like travel and food and all that stuff. They're basically doing it because they believe in this podcast, they believe in the event, and they believe that this is a good thing to have a dialogue with people. The Bill Murray and the Angel team are really supportive as well, and I actually have plans, assuming this one goes well, to do the same thing again, but for the TV industry, where I'll have a panel of TV commissioners, a panel of independent producers, and a panel of people who freelance in the industry who have worked in it for more than, say, 20 years to come down and talk about their job and talk about how you as a writer or a producer or a comedian can break into whatever area you want to. So if you want to support me, you want this to go well, please spread the word. Please tell a friend. If you can't make it, please tell someone who can. That'd be really helpful. That'd be really appreciated. The event is taking up a lot of my time and it's a lot of effort, but I think it's worth doing because long term this is going to be something that I'd like to carry on doing more of, where we all get a chance to network and talk in a safe and comfortable and lovely environment where it's not really as pressured as normal networking. I hate networking. I want to say that up front. For me, networking is really stressful. So I like being able to just talk to people in an environment where we know why we're there, but we're not like pressured into feeling like we have to talk or that I have this, it's just a nicer environment I'm trying to cultivate for people who want to quote unquote network. So if you want to come, it's the 17th of February. It's from midday to 5 p.m. If you have a look on the Facebook event, it'll tell you when the panels are. So if you only want to come to 1 or 2 of them, you can. And in between them, there'll be a gap of half an hour, 40 minutes, whatever, where you can talk to people individually, learn about them a bit more, and talk to the people that you'll be working with, hopefully, for all of August, say next year, but also going forward. I personally work with the same people over and over and over again because I know they're decent people. I know they're amazing to work with, and I know they're not going to screw me over. So look at this as not a short-term thing if you want. That's all I'm going to say on that event. But do check out the link in the description. It's got a Facebook event and a ticket link. If you're new here, please do hit the subscribe button. If you're old here, please do give us an honest review in iTunes. And either way, please do join the Facebook group. It's called RC Industry Podcast, and it is on Facebook, obviously. But now, without any more delays, this is Ben Verth and John Millar. What I was going to start... So what I normally do is I will I'll ask the first question and ask you to incorporate that question in your answer.
Sure.
But I reckon what would be the best way is if I keep this bit in that I'm saying now and say we've got both John and Ben in the room, but there's 4 of you. So do you want to explain who the other 2 people who aren't here are and what their role is in Monkey Barrel, and then we can go from there. So then they get a say in it as well.
Yeah. Okay. So there are 4 people who are Monkey Barrel comedy. It's John Millar.
Hello.
Here. It's me, Ben Verth. Hopefully listening is our kind of finance guy who is David Blease, and our operations manager who is Chris Griffin, and we are all the idiots who have decided to run a comedy bloody club. Is that answer?
You want to say anything on that?
No, finance guy. I think finance director is what he likes to be called,
Okay.
Finance guy who counts the coppers.
Okay, yeah, all right. He's the guy that holds the sock that we that we put the money that we find down the side of couches that we regularly raid in each other's homes in order to try and make this shit fly.
I mean, I knew it was through Fringe, but... Okay, well, let's start with, how did you get to regretting owning a comedy club?
Well, very easily. Okay, so what is the... So I guess I have a history of gig promotion in Edinburgh. And
you're the most underrated person in the Scottish scene, according to Vladimir McTavish.
According to Vladimir McTavish.
That's absolute bullshit. That's me.
John Millar is, in fact... Well, okay, fine. I mean, if I didn't even give David his correct terminology, then David is the most underrated person in Scottish comedy, I think. Yeah, okay. I mean, that was very kind of Vlad to say that. I mean, I've always felt perfectly valued for the level of craps I give. So I started as a promoter. I didn't ever want that to be the thing, but I love comedy, and I went to university more because I wanted to take part in that kind of review type of thing that you get if you're fans of Monty Python and the Goodies and all that kind of like 60s, 70s, 80s kind of university comedy. And when I got to Edinburgh, I found that there was an improv group called the Improverts, but that's not really what I wanted to do. It was sketch and stand-up. So me and some other like-minded people got together, we physically created that thing. And I think that when I left university, left the Edinburgh Review, it was all about, well, if I want to get a gig, you got to create your own opportunities. And my friends owned a pub, the Illicit Still, which was on Brougham Street, I can't remember which one it is. And from there, I just got associated with people who worked at another gig at the Beehive Inn. And then we took that over. and then loads of people, we all started getting together. So John is closing the window because there's an inordinate amount of street bullshit happening. So I guess
that explains a lot about our relationship right there.
Yeah.
Ben does the talking and you do all the actual work.
I do the talking and having a glass of wine, and John goes, well, this needs to burn down. Or we just close the window. So I started running the Beehive Comedy Club, as it was called. And one by one, everyone who is Monkey Barrel starts showing up, and it becomes very much, by the time we moved from it to the club, it very much was like a kind of 4 or 5 person thing. Because I guess one of the people who is not necessarily an owner, but is somebody who's very important to it, is the person who was the regular host basically from the start at the Beehive, and is now our Friday, Saturday, Sunday host, is Rick Molland, who's a compere. And there's a lot of his character that shapes what a Friday, Saturday night looks like, which I guess is it is our flagship stuff,
And you started the Scottish Comedy Festival off the back of that night, is that right?
Yeah, so we did Fridays and Saturdays, and there came that first year of doing it where myself and Jed, who was the manager at the Beehive, I think we were like, why do we stop what we do and move aside and like kind of, I don't want to be anti-metropolitan about it, but like London promoters come in and put their crap on when we could do something. And what seemed like the obvious way of doing stuff was that we gather up Scottish acts and make a thing of that. but I never really wanted it to be along particularly nationalist lines. So it wasn't just Scottish people, it was people who operate in Scotland. So there was a lot of English, some Americans, that kind of stuff. So it was basically a reflection of the scene in Scotland.
Yeah, because I heard that it was you trying to reclaim part of the Fringe for the local acts and the acts that operate in that area.
Well, I think that's the party line, but I mean, I honestly didn't care. I just wanted a load of pals in a place, so that was not. It wasn't majorly about making a stand or anything. It was just going, this is the easiest thing. These people I like. Why don't we all get together and do that? But that is not necessarily what you should put in any PR, really, is it? It's got to be about taking a moral stance, as opposed to going, do you know what? It was the fucking easiest thing to do. Just saying, hey John Gavin, go and do an hour here. Like, it was, hey Bruce for me, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We quickly abandoned that idea when we opened the club. When I don't want to run the Scottish Comedy Festival anymore, over to someone else.
Yeah, so it still runs, it's still a thing, but it's Rick Molland and Sully O'Sullivan, so it's an Englishman and a New Zealander who now run the Scottish Comedy Festival.
I wonder why they were outside, because I was at Sweets, which was opposite in the Apex Hotel, and they were always there, and I was like, why are you always out here flying?
Well, I mean, they're also monsters about doing shows. I mean, they must do like 90 shows a day, the two of them. But that also means that each hour that they do, there's also the hour beforehand that they've got to flyer. So, you know, frankly, I do not understand how Rick Molland is still alive. I think if we were to like take a blood sample, it would be Red Bull that is keeping him upright.
I was going to say Iron Brew. Is Iron Brew an energy drink?
No, it's just a fizzy thing.
Just a fizzy thing.
Good, that's what we're here for, racism.
Iron Brew, the energy drink of Scotland. Okay.
I could have sworn it was an energy drink.
No, it's just fizzy pop.
All right.
It is. Talk about this. How I was going to call it fizzy juice, and that's because that like carbonated, sugary drinks are what we consider juice in Scotland. That's.
Well, I'll edit all this out. So my
More racism. Bloody hell.
I'll edit out all the racism. But I will snip it, so in the year, sort of, I do like a yearly roundup pod, and it will just have this bit of race, and then people will go, download it, and be like, where was the racism? I was expecting lots of racism.
Just talking about sugary drinks.
Yeah. I don't know what Monkey Barrel is, except for a sugary drink retailer.
Good, because that is basically how we perceive it as awesome.
Fair enough.
All right, back on message. Come on.
Okay. So let's stay with the Scottish Comedy Festival for a second, because this was 2012.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it? Yes, it was. Yeah.
Can't remember. So I met Ben by looking for stage time when he was running the Beehive, and I got on board with the Scottish Comedy Festival to do all the web and all that sort of nonsense. And then, yes, that's how the Scottish comedy sort of came about, really, is I got involved because somebody needed to do tappy work, and Ben can do, hey everybody, come to be. I can do the old admin. That's my role.
And he's never bitter about it at all.
It sounds like a synchronicity and harmony and working in relationships.
It's it's tolerable.
I want to take this opportunity to just say that John Millar is a fucking saint. He puts up with the most messy, ridiculous dick squeezer that is me. Because I'm a fucking okay.
This isn't counselling. Roll it back.
No, okay. This is
advertising the club. It's obviously.
So there's a lot more. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot less to it.
Yeah.
I at the very first Scottish Comedy Awards, I was given like an outstanding contribution to Scottish comedy.
Lifetime achievement.
Get it? But it just amused me because it's not just me, and it's also not the major thing, or I don't consider it the major thing that a lot of people think. Now, it works for a lot of people and it's great, but that it has moved on to other people and is running just as well. It's more about the people who take part in it and the strength of those acts than any one organising force. Which I admit also diminishes John's role, which is...
No, like Scottish Comedy Festival is just a banner organisation for local base rather than local comics to stake a claim to the Fringe. Yeah. And it doesn't really... All you need is someone to do the admin, make sure it sort of ticks along. It doesn't need... You don't promote on the back of that. You promote on the back of your efforts, your audience. You flyer for your show. And that's why there are acts at the Scottish Comedy Festival that probably will always be there. People like Raymond Mearns appreciates the fact that his audience know where to go, and they know he's always going to be there, unless I don't know, maybe something will change, but hopefully it'll grow as well. I think Rick and Sully are trying to increase its footprint during the next Fringe. I hope it happens. I hope it gets bigger, and I hope it it becomes a staple of smaller, independently run, let's call them festivals or free fringes, whatever you want to call them, where maybe 4 or 5 venues run by one venue, one sort of operation, and they could claim the Grassmarket and be the Grassmarket Festival, and somebody could move in rather than and do the Cowgate or wherever, rather than having 2 just enormous free festivals that somehow dominate the landscape. And I'm not sure it's the healthiest thing for comedy. It's easy for the breweries and G1 and all these mega companies to sign up to one person, helps them run their, make money out of people, but it's not the best for comedy. And I hope that Scottish Comedy Festival, what we're going to do in the festival, what Bob Slayer is doing in the festival, helps fragment these 2 Goliaths. Have nothing personally against them. I just think they are too big to be good.
It doesn't mean the power is evenly distributed. I mean, it never is going to be evenly distributed, but it sort of means that if you had a falling out with one of them, for example, with PBH or something like that, which is, there's all of those rumours about how fickle he can be to certain acts and things like that you've basically knocked off half the venues that you could potentially be in one fell swoop. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah, it's and what it enables people to do, if you have a locale, let's say Scottish Comedy Festival does take over the Grassmarket, you're not spread thin. Based on how you operate, maybe if you go to pay what you want as opposed to just free, you have a tech that can tech all this, anything that falls over or breaks down, there's somebody on hand to deal with it. If you wish your little festival to have a flyering team, they're not all over the place, they're in one place. If a show's full, you just go point across the road and go across there. You concentrate your effort, be it sales and marketing, operational management, whatever. But you can claim a little area and run that very, very well. And it's just that's not the model that Free is. It's not the model Laughing Horse. That isn't their model. There, as far as I can see, is a take over a venue, put in this stuff. You're on your own. I'm sure they would disagree. I'm sure they believe that they perhaps do more, and maybe they do. But for what I just don't believe our Fringe experience recently, what we did in our venue, there's no way you could do that for 50 venues. It's just not possible. You got to go 2 ways. You either got to get a bit more lax about let's call it the professionalism that you execute over the Fringe to grow, or you got to limit your growth so that you can keep the same standards across all your venues. I go for the second. I go for the latter because acts like it a lot better. The audience, I think, appreciate it. I don't think the venues give a shit. Like, all they see is particularly all the pub venues, all they see is their money going up, year on year, and they go, hey, it's great. You're like, not really, mate. But they don't really care about comedy, they care about money. And so they're quite happy to have somebody who, in a bad tech in a bad room, doing a bad show, and then customers walk in, or people who come in and go, oh, this is what Free Fringe is. And you go, yep, mate, that is what it is. Again, because of the way Edinburgh is, millions of people every year, it's a fresh intake. It's a fresh, I couldn't tell you, and I'm sure Ed Fringe might be able to tell you the repeat business they get, but it ain't going to be massive. If it was 100% repeat business every year, things like the Free Fringe would have to up their game, because customers just go, I went down there, I went in that venue last year, that was rubbish, I'm not going to go back. Whereas I think just because you're fresh meat every year, you can get away with, it's a bit strong. I don't have it. There is I believe, a significant issue in operating massive venues for no money, because I don't believe it's a great experience for essentially anybody. And therefore, back to the Scottish Comedy Festival and all these, I think a degree of smaller, independent, but crucially working together, helping each other out, sort of independent festivals is the way forward, and we will be part of that. And
what do I bring to this? Great hair.
I can see your chest hair from here. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, got a bit serious, Benjamin.
It's all right, but that is John's strength. Is that no? He only had 5 minutes to think of that, and then he doesn't care about this thing. I thought, yeah, he does. He's fucking yeah.
I think what you made was a very interesting point in that when comedians bitch about selling out and the festival only being interested in money, I think people mistake that and go, oh, that comedian's not interested in selling out their show or making money. When what we're actually saying is, no, the venue is only interested in money. We're both interested in making a profit, clearly, but we need it to work together between the performer and the venue, rather than it just being that the performer gets paid last, which is all too often, I think, at the Fringe.
Well, yeah, so there's a difference between venues that are making money out of comedy, as you know, people who their livelihood, their reputation is based on comedy. Whatever your opinion is of the big four, that's they're there to make money on comedy. They've got other ventures, I guess, circus, God knows what, with Assembly, everything by the sound of it. But the Free, you operate in the Free Festival in a business that isn't making money in comedy. They spend the rest of the year thinking about how to get people drunk, how to make money on drink, how to get people. That is what they care about. So when you meet them and you talk about comedy, the quality of comedy, they're not bothered. What they're interested in is that there's enough people turning up for the 15 minutes before the comedy starts to all buy a drink, and if the comedy is shit, it doesn't matter. They'll finish their drink and they'll leave. Comedy's good, they'll finish their drink and they'll leave. It's the same scenario. The only thing that would stop them operating like that is if the numbers start to tail, which we're back into every year fresh meat. Every year it's about people experiencing it for the first time. Now, I'm not saying that the quality is atrocious, but you know, it's potluck at the minute. It's absolutely potluck, and there's lots of great people on PBH and on Laughing Horse, of course there is, but it's got a degree of potluck about it, or not. I don't know what the curation is like. Clearly there is some, because, you know, Liquid Romantics, not anybody gets in there. People have got dibs on that. There is a roster of acts that have been with a certain promoter and will probably be with them forever unless that venue gets taken off them. And obviously very few other acts will have a chance of getting in that venue. So there's this what do you call it, equality, egalitarian view that I guess people might expect from the Free Fringe doesn't exist, because not everyone has the same chances of getting the same rooms. It's people who, you know, have had the room before, fair enough, but it's also people who will step into that and go, right, I am top of the rung, thank you very much. And that's no different. I'm not saying we're particularly different in that regard, but you know, we don't pretend that we are here for everybody. What we are here for is people we like.
Simon baby, as a fan of this podcast, this is fucking gold. This is welcome to everybody's favourite episode, as voted for by you, the public. This is.
What am I doing wrong?
You're doing nothing wrong, man. I knew this was so originally it was just going to be me, and I was like, no, John's got to be here as well, because this is that's the industry. You're far more industry than I am, man.
Well, we're not that. Let's be honest. We're not industry. We're sort of on the side of industry.
Can I say an interesting thing that's happened from my end with this podcast is the original purpose of it. Genuinely, the original reason I started this was I wanted to get an agent in a room to ask them some questions, and they wouldn't meet me for a coffee. So I emailed them and said, well, I bought some mics now. Would you like to have a chat? And I'll put it online.
Okay, right? Is this a stalker story that you've tried to build some scaffolding around? Is this what's happened here?
Literally, and the reason it was called Ask the Industry is because I wanted to ask what I perceived to be the industry some questions. Yeah. And the reason the word comedy isn't in it is because I didn't want it to go up against actual comedy podcasts. Sure. Because it would get drowned.
I say no laugh.
Oh yeah, don't be funny. No. I mean, Ben, I don't need to tell you that. But
yeah. I'm aware of what's happening here.
You're getting ganged up.
Cheeky cunt. I also don't know how far I can go with swearing on this thing.
You can swear all you want.
Fucking brilliant. You cunt.
But my point is, the vibe of the podcast has now become more of an information source that each episode kind of answers a question. I think one of the original...
Ours is very much, so who are you?
Yeah.
I said it by two guys you've never heard of.
Well, that's an interesting thing, is most of my core listeners email me quite regularly saying, I love that episode, I didn't know them beforehand. So don't feel too bad that you're pretty much unknown.
We are on the outskirts of society in Scotland going, oh, no one's heard of us.
Yeah.
You did it for
That's
the
it.
fame, though, John.
That's exactly why I did this. That's to see my face like trampled upon by people as I walk down the street on the flyers. That's why I did it. I'm all about that.
My purpose.
And I have great hair.
But it's not a flyer on the floor, though, is it?
No. Because my hair is so great. Nobody would dare.
Got that flyer.
Nobody would dare.
My original reason for getting you on was to talk about the Scottish Comedy Festival and your.
We kind of trampled on that.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that.
No, but it's evolved now because literally in the last year.
It's evolved now, and I think I can't speak for John, but I certainly think I sometimes have a lot of trouble. Sometimes I think, so I guess I experienced this over the festival. I don't know about you, I don't know about the other guys. Constantly being told that what you do is great and amazing and people being appreciative, and you just feeling a massive disconnect with what you do and what people are saying. So, I mean, blowing our own trumpet, I guess, we have like a brilliant TripAdvisor rating. I mean, like the stuff that goes up there is effusive. It's all 5 and 4 stars, that kind of stuff. And I kind of look at it and go, there's a lot of kind of disconnect. So when people are like, when Vlad's saying that I'm underrated, when they're giving awards for the Scottish Comedy Festival, you just go, yeah, thanks, I guess. Sure.
So what do I think about, because we are in the eye of the storm, we're working 18-hour days, we're obviously not going to like it. One day we'll have money and someone will pay somebody to do the jobs that we do now, and then we'll fucking love running a comedy club, mate. Oh, imagine the drugs we will never take.
I'm going to go shit-faced on Benelin.
And when that happens, I guess we'll have a better idea of our place, and we'll get to do more fun things. We'll get to go see much more acts. We'll get to enjoy the festival. Whereas this year, I think I got to see 2-3 shows that were outside of our building. I remember Delightful Sausage because it was great, and I look forward to them being great for years to come. But other than that, seen some shite in the Gilded Balloon, can't remember what it was. And then
I saw a couple of things, and one of them wasn't comedy. It was I went to see one of the lawyers from Making a Murderer. And I don't know what I fucking expected. But we had drinks beforehand. It was a Friday night. I thought, should I bring a foam hand saying Stephen Avery #1? That kind of thing. Is it going to be a laugh? Is he going to come out and do 5 minutes of going, hey, where are you guys from? Bathgate? That's bullshit. But it wasn't. It was a sedate talk about the legal systems of the United States and the United Kingdom.
So not too dissimilar to this podcast.
Well...
all about the system, none of the creativity.
Yeah. Although, why did I think it was going to be funny? Because my friend Gemma, who is a comic, is also a doctor of criminology at the University of Edinburgh, and she was the interviewer. So I was like, slide in some funnies, and she did it. It was good. It was funny. It was good.
Oh, cool.
But yeah. So I can't remember what the question was. What's the disconnect between people thinking we're good and us going, fucking hell, what's happening?
I don't know if it was a disconnect. I think I just went, I don't understand.
Well, I was going to ask, because your club's won an award now, hasn't it? It won the...
So we won... So the Beehive, when we were at the Beehive, it won Best Small Comedy Club at the Scottish Comedy Awards in 2016. And then, genuinely surprisingly, we won Best Large Comedy Club. So that meant more, I think, because we were up against the Stand in Glasgow. We were up against the Lemon Tree in Aberdeen. Was it Eden Court in Inverness? All these big places. And then at the end of the festival, we had 3 Edinburgh Comedy Award winners in the building, which was, I think, so the Pleasance definitely had the most, but because that's loads of different buildings across the city.
Nominees, mate.
Nominees. What did I say? Winners.
Fucking living in
one winner. Living in a fantasy land.
2017, there's 2 winners.
There's three winners, a newcomer.
I stopped paying attention when the nominations came out, if I'm honest.
Yeah, well, we fucking went into overdrive that day, mate. That's.
No, but I remember coming past your club and you'd put stickers up on the thing, and I was like, oh, I'll go and see those shows, because I'd seen some of the nominations come up, and I was going to go and see Rob's show anyway.
Yes, yeah.
But other than that, does it make a difference, realistically, from your perspective, having either an award for the club, or an award for a show?
So I think I would hope, take pride in it, because I think for our very first Fringe proper, we got 3 nominees, which, as I was saying, the Pleasance got the most nominees, but we got for a single building in Edinburgh, we got 3. And being in partnership with Bob Slayer, he got 4 in total, and 3 of those were in our building. Also, I think, to be quite honest, that the 3 people who were nominated were fucking absolutely brilliant people as well. I think, so who was it? It was Spencer, one of the best guys, Rob, who I think is a friend now, Lucy Pearman, who's just brilliant. So I think there was a genuine feeling of being absolutely chuffed. And I think for the fact as well is that you championed, particularly Lucy Pearman, like yours, that was a real kind of like eye for talent, John.
Yeah.
So being able to like claim that, like that nugget seen in a show. I mean, you tell the story.
Well, claiming strong. Well, I've seen. So a lot of the credit for our successful Fringe has to go to Bob Slayer. He curated our first proper Fringe lineup, and it was a stonker. And so a lot of that credit is his. But yeah, in regards to Lucy, seen her in Let Loose a couple of years ago in a show called Seaman. Best thing I've seen at Fringe since, well, for years, and I'd say. And then she did a cracker work in progress. I went to see that, brilliant. And so yeah, that was the one act that I said to Bob, can we please get Lucy on board? And Bob said, yeah. that was it. But yeah, we take I'd say a small degree of pride. We try and lift the burden from the act. I think that's our job in the Fringe, is not to claim credit for other people's creativity.
That's where John and I differ.
But ours is to make their life as carefree as possible, so that they enjoy the Fringe, so that they don't feel under pressure to do any particular thing, be that, I don't know, flyering, whatever. I don't know what actual personal pressures people put themselves on under. I think us being able to go, right, these people seem to fit together, they have a similar outlook on comedy. You create a place where it makes everything about the Fringe more pleasant for them, and then we do small things like, so this year, I think in 2017, we were asked by Chortle, who do you think is going to do well in 2017? We picked Liam Withnail, and I guess importantly,
who is our regular midweek. So we've got Rick to do Friday, Saturdays, but Liam is our midweek, our Tuesday, Wednesday compere. He does every show. He's legit. He's the coolest fucking guy. He's genuinely funny. He's really great. He was recently an English Comedian of the Year final. Back to John.
Yeah, so I was going to mention all that, but the reason I highlight it.
But I did it with amazing hair.
Well, it's humid. It's a humid environment. I don't think it's going to last that long.
Yeah, that's what matters in an audio medium.
But I guess then, what was important about the Chortle thing? I think a lot of people nominated somebody just as a throwaway comment. I think they'll be good. So we took a bit of time. We went, we believe, this person. And then importantly went, okay, we need to give this person opportunities to be good. We can't just go, that guy, he'll be all right. And so, yes, he became our midweek compere. He was in our room in the Fringe. He's in with these other people. We paid for a little bit of PR, not much, but, we paid for a bit of PR for him. We supported him in the Fringe. I'm sure he would get that support anyway if he was at another paid for venue. But I guess...
No, he wouldn't. Liam, if you're listening, you're fucking lucky.
But and this year we'll do the same. So if we get asked for a, Liam will be with us. Hopefully, this Fringe coming up if he wants to be. But this year we'll do exactly the same. We will get presumably asked by Chortle. Even if we don't, we'll pick somebody we think can and will do good things. They don't need to smash it. They don't need to become like a house hunter. They just need to be progressing well in the scene that is Scotland. And then we'll say, right, do you want to come? Do you want to do your show here? Pay for the PR again. We'll support you and see about getting them moving at a speed. Because again, you might talk about Scottish comedy later. Probably the biggest frustration is the pace of people developing. From me, that's other people have other frustrations, but there's a pace problem in Scotland if you're not willing to travel. And there's a certain scene in Scotland that promotes one type of comedy over others. And if we can pick somebody and then go, right, let's do that, let's again lift the burden for them, give them a helping hand, we'll do that. And I think that is our role in the Fringe, that is our role out with the Fringe. And one day it'll be Benny Boy will be helping when he gets back on the wagon that is comedy.
Yeah. Thanks very much.
Can I just say...
Because at the moment this interview is very much kind of, and now over to the sane man. And now interjections from the lunatic. Hey, so, as a carer, it's nice that you brought your weird guy with you that you've... That is the working relationship. Yeah. I've got three people who genuinely know how to run a business, and then a fucking maniac who kind of orbits, shows up in the office and goes, rah, 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 do you want an imminent amount of tea?
But dude, he's right there. Like, seriously.
Thank God, let's start talking about this.
But, you know, somebody has to start something, and that's the important thing. If you hadn't started to turn the Beehive into a genuine gig, there's a good chance none of it would have happened. Obviously, it takes people better than me, to step in.
And more modest as well. The modesty is the thing that makes it work.
I feel like one of you's got to be modest. So.
And then you gather people around who've got different skills, who then can move it forward. But somebody always has to start it. And, you know, you were that guy, mate.
What I was going to talk to you about was how secretive you were with the venue in terms of keeping it under wraps while you were sort of developing it and getting all the city on side and building the venue and stuff. But before we get into that then, I thought what would be interesting is if we carry on with what you were just saying, because Ben and I have spoken about the Scottish circuit and how it is slower development, partly because of less stage time, because there's a lot more to ratio of clubs to comedians, it's a lot lower than in London, for example.
Sure.
But then good clubs to comedians, it's a lot higher because there's a shit ton of rubbish gigs in London that sort of balance out that stage time potential. So maybe for people who haven't been to Edinburgh or haven't been to the festival or haven't been to Scotland at all, do you want to maybe explain how you see the circuit and how you see development for performers on the circuit?
So the circuit, I think, is entirely geared towards Friday, Saturday night gigs. I think we're in a...
Are we talking the business end of it, or are we talking about like the style of comedy?
The style and the business. Okay. There are very few places outside of what we do or the Stand does or university organisations that cater for anything a bit more esoteric, a bit more adventurous, or literally even anything that is out with a Friday or a Saturday night. I think the house style in Scotland is quite combative. It's quite, I don't want to say drunken, but it's about rewarding people at the end of a week of work who just want to unwind and they don't want anything experimental. They just want... No, I mean, I seem like I'm phrasing this like it's a complaint. It's seriously not. I perfectly appreciate that type of sensibility and that want. But what it means is that if you want to get on, that is a sort of comedy you've got to cultivate. And if you do want to get on, then you have to be good almost immediately, so you can have access to the more professional stages, because that's where you're going to be getting any kind of time to develop. There is a lot of stalling. There's a lot of people who've remained basically on the same area in terms of industry structure for years and years and years, because the guys at the top have not died or left or retired or whatever. I guess also as well there's a bit of stalling because big places like Jongleurs have closed. Or Highlight. There's never been a Glee club that's come near. Not to say that that's kind of similar to what that is, but you know, there's kind of like big Friday, Saturday night organisations. So what you're left with is more kind of rough and ready pub gigs in various cities, and also local promoters doing stuff in small towns around Scotland, which is very much about... You know, it's like town hall meetings in the Simpsons episodes. It's like, you know, at the drop of a hat, Mo the bartender can incite a riot if he doesn't like what you're saying, that kind of thing. So that, I think, is what Scotland looks like at the moment. I'm sure John will have something more eloquent to say.
Well, you've said it. To get on in Scotland, the best thing to be is a solid act. Hitting your 6 jokes a minute, understanding how to deal with, you know, crowd interaction, and these are all great skills, amazing skills. These are the basics of being. It doesn't matter what kind of comic you want to be, but if you can master these skills, you can then become whatever comic you want to be. Problem with that is there aren't the gigs for you to do that. There aren't the venues for that. You look at Soho Theatre, look at what they're doing. They're giving the hour shows that people have done in the Fringe, a go in London, and people, it's very successful. That is a core to its business model. You couldn't do that in Scotland. You could not go, here is, or you could, but it'd be a huge risk. You'd go, okay, we are doing an hour for a week of this person, an hour. You couldn't do it in Edinburgh at the minute, It's just not possible. I don't know Glasgow particularly well as a scene. And again, this is the thing, I don't think there is a scene in Scotland. I think people in their areas are doing what punters in their area want. That is different in Edinburgh and it is in Glasgow, as you know, Aberdeen is different again. So it's not a scene. You can be a lot harsher in Glasgow, I think because it's a lot more locals. You've got to be a lot sort of more broader themes in Edinburgh, because you will get, you know, Saturday night, how many Scots in the room? 10. How many English? 50. 8, and a lot of international. So the comedy is different. So every scene is quite distinct, but the core of being solid, can handle a rambunctious room are key. And if you want to do anything more experimental, or if you want to do tour, like this 1 hour thing, it's a difficult business. Why? I don't know, because if you knew the answer to that, I'd make money by working out how to overcome it. One day I'm hoping we'll work that one out.
So I suspect, and I hope this doesn't come across as an insult, it's not meant as an insult, but I suspect it's because Scotland is obviously less populous, and it is also, I think, more working class than a lot of southern England, which means that the sort of want for comedy is the sort which is just more, again, don't want to phrase it as an insult, but uncomplicated. They just want to be rewarded with a decent laugh, a recognisable and appreciable laugh at the end of a working week. I think that's what it is.
I think maybe we look jealously at things like Soho, but Soho's probably the exception. I can't think of anyone in the north of England or Wales or that are doing something like that. I think the core is weekend comedy, compare 3-4 acts. And giving people comedy that they can immediately enjoy without decoding it, and without, and so you got to build scenes, and so that's probably our biggest problem at the minute, is trying to build a scene that isn't weekend comedy, trying to build up experimental weekday comedy, trying to understand where the audience is for that, because it ain't tourists. It is not just randoms happening across your comedy club.
And it is not people who are just going, well, I'm going to have a quick drink after work on a Wednesday. It's very much a student audience is what we're looking at.
Yeah, and you just got to find that. And I guess in London it's just easier. There's more people to draw from, and people are more willing to travel. It's a big city. People are quite happy to travel 40 minutes to see something. If we try and get people 40 minutes outside of Edinburgh to come in, I'm not sure we'd particularly be successful in that, and so your potential audience goes down. However, this doesn't mean you don't do it. You just got to do it and know that it's not a money making opportunity. It's you pay your bills at the weekend, and you set up something that you enjoy, that you want to be a part of during the week. And that's what we're doing, and that's why I guess we are getting back into doing actual comedy ourselves, because probably for 2-3 years we haven't. We've just been trying to get this thing going. I'm sure people in Glasgow, well, I know the guys who do chunks in Glasgow are definitely trying to do something different. And I think I don't know if the Yes Bar is also sort of trying to do that, which is great, but it ain't going to be money making, not in the short term. And so fundamentally, you need to be able to get to 5 years' time when your comedy club is known for what you want it to be known for. At the minute, the comedy club is known for what we want it to be known for during the Fringe. Outside the Fringe, I think we'd like to be doing more of Fringe type comedy. The big worry is you put it on, nobody comes, 6 months later you're out of business. We're going to go to Angel. They have a tremendous model. They have everything about it is great. I think if you opened that in Scotland, it would be shut in 6 months, and that's the difference. That's just the tipping point of people that you can get in London versus probably anywhere else. So I think we're in danger of going, hey, we'd love to do London comedy in Edinburgh. Well, it's called London comedy for a reason, because it's probably the only place in Britain you can get away with it.
The next part of that was going to be, what have you or haven't you learnt from Scottish clubs then, or particularly Edinburgh clubs, that you're now implementing in your club? Because if you're going for something, or hopefully long term something different to the other clubs, can you learn from them or from what they do?
Yeah, so first thing is there's a lot we have learned from the Stand. They are the absolute model of how you should run a club. They've got minor things that we might think we wouldn't want to do, but the core is They love comedy. They treat comedians very well. They don't veer over the place looking for, the money, the quick buck and stuff. They are,
and a lot of them have hair as good as mine.
Has Kenny got lovely hair? Has he?
Jen's got good hair.
Okay, good. So hair aside, there's a template in Scotland.
Whoa, can we not brush over the hair? It's like a Samsung situation. The longer the hair, the better the club. That's what I'm getting from this interview.
All right, okay. I better start growing my hair.
Your hair looks.
That will help next quarter's income no end by me not getting a haircut.
Yeah, I was gonna say. How often did you get that cut? Every 2 days.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So in Scotland, we are quite lucky in that, despite there not being a lot of clubs, there is the template of how to run a comedy club for everybody, for acts, for audience, for running a good business, and it is the Stand. So yeah, I'd say we've learned a lot there. We've got different things. We don't mind groups as much as they perhaps do, but part of that's about them being established, and so they can, if they want, decide not to take groups.
Yeah, so they are 20 years over us. Who I don't know when this will go out, but are still a couple of months away from. We're still like a couple of months away from our very first birthday. So I mean, we've they've got it ahead of us.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so Stand, we've learned a lot of what we should do, learning about what we shouldn't do. I'll be honest, we learn more from the stuff that we do goes wrong, and you go, okay, let's not do that again. And that's what a lot of our first year has been about, and I'm sure that's a lot of what our second year will be about. And then one day, there'll be less mistakes. But the only thing we learned is when you make a mistake, get over it quickly. Whereas I think in the past we were guilty of just holding our ground, going, this is definitely going to work, and then 6 months later you go, oh geez, right, okay, it didn't work. And so I think we're better at that, at going, okay, it didn't work. If we don't understand why it didn't work, so let's leave it and move on to something else. And that's probably where most of the evolution of our business is coming, is us making mistakes.
Of which I am very good at that. Like I am properly decent at the old mistakes.
I don't want to say anything because you're looking at me as if to say, go on, bring it.
Okay.
No?
Okay, is this podcast one of those?
Oh, wow. Maybe. I don't know.
What are we coming across as?
Dicks.
Good.
But that's how we show up at the office at 9 a.m. Sorry, you at 9
9 a.m.
You at 9 a.m. and me kind of after 1 in the afternoon.
I love it. He turns up and just goes, "Oh, sweaty."
Yes, I have nothing more to add. That is how we run a club, by trial and error.
Do you have anything to add, Ben?
No.
Okay, let's talk about how you kept making a club in the city centre a secret, or at least not publicised.
Okay, so I guess this treads into territory where I was kind of uncomfortable. Is because can
I chuck in one more question to that? Because we talked about Angel and we talked about how they did it, and they went the opposite route to you, which was they kept it quiet for a while, but then crowdfunded. Yes. And I wondered why you didn't do that, or you didn't crowdfund, and if that was ever an option for you.
So we always knew that if we moved, we were not going to keep the original gig going. So at the Beehive, but the gestation period of us, because it wasn't just a case of us taking over a licensed premises. It was literally a place just on Blair Street, just off the Mile, where we had to spend a lot of time getting money together. Well, John and David was the real kind of financial sources for it, and also the legal brains as well, in order for us to get Edinburgh City Council to change licenses and change categories for the building and all that kind of stuff, which took loads of time, like ridiculous amounts of time. And all that while we had to keep it a secret from the venue, telling them that we're going to be here for ages, all that kind of stuff, knowing fine that we were going to pull out, like it was going to be a midnight flit if it was going to be anything. It was also about making sure that the information was managed, because there's been a couple of times where other clubs have tried to materialise in Scotland, and they it's been, I think it's probably fair to say, each time has been greeted with cynicism and a lack of support, and certainly a kind of uppityness from Scotland, as if the new club has got to somehow present something or be a certain way for it to be accepted. It's got to it's got to be worthy of the comics, particular codes of valor or honor or something, and I think also we just wanted to manage all the information and make sure it all got out on our terms, which every time we got pissed, we just told somebody. Like, I remember there was a guy called Obi knew about it. It's like, who the fuck did you know about? Oh, John got smashed, right? Okay, that's why. but then like people were like coming up to John going, how did you know? I was like, oh fuck Ben. It's like, but I mean, mine was worse. I was drunk and telling them at 10 a.m. So it's like, I
was gonna say, I thought I was like in the inner circle or something, because you told me quite early on.
Yeah, I did, because you were trustworthy about it, but like just telling fucking randoms, not saying Obi's a random, but I mean, like, it's like,
so maybe 20 people knew. Look, the reason
20, what?
It must be around that. Why did I think we were keeping it quiet? Might be different. I thought we were keeping it quiet because we were scared it wouldn't happen, and if you tell everybody, oh, it's definitely going to happen, and it doesn't, you just look a bit like a dick. And secondly, we still needed the income that was coming from the Above a Pub gig, and for some reason we got into our heads that they would go, oh bloody hell, you're not doing that, right? You're out now. Now, in retrospect, they couldn't care less whether we were running comedy above. Not care less. They were supportive of the Beehive. It wasn't that important to them. They're a chain pub. They've got bigger fish to fry. We are nothing to them in reality. But we got it in our heads that they would go, right, shut this gig down. How dare you look at elsewhere? That's absolutely not been the case. We've left. Scottish Comedy Festival still there. I think everybody's on good terms. Because these people, the people we work with, are employed by some, Taylor Walker, massive pub chain. They couldn't care less about us opening a comedy club, and I think we thought they did, and they didn't.
I mean, I think that came from me. I think I certainly had a kind of, because if I can take the opportunity now, over the 5 years that we did the Beehive Comedy Club and those latter years of Monkey Barrel, the people, the management and the bar staff of the Beehive were ridiculously supportive, like just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Great human faces of, as John said, a kind of a big international company. And I guess that's why I got it into my head that we wanted to keep it a secret, because we didn't want to feel like there was, I'm saying we, it's like I didn't want to feel like there was a betrayal or there was mistruth. So I feel quite bad. I've never been back, because I don't want to look them in the eye and go, yeah, sorry for lying to you guys. I don't want to be that guy. It's like, business is business, even though business is business. It's, so I don't know.
No, I remember you put on Buddhism and Cats in that venue.
Yes.
And I remember you were able to give me all the names for everyone I was going to see there, and everyone there was absolutely lovely.
Sure.
And just amazing. And they didn't know me, as in I just turned up as a comic with a show, and it was outside of Fringe time and everything. And so from my perspective, it was kind of odd, because I knew the pub and I knew it was a chain, and generally speaking I have a perception of chains that most people in it are sort of temp working, or they're not, they're sort of trying to build up a skill base so they can start their own pub or sort of something. Well, maybe not so different. And for me it was amazing to sort of be able to just walk in and go, hi, can I speak to whoever, and them go, oh we'll go and get them for you. And
they're great people, and a lot of the people still remain there, and I think that's why Rick and Sully have had such an easy time, and why a lot of people who do the Scottish Comedy Festival, the programming from year to year doesn't really change, because a lot of people are asked to come back, and a lot of people jump at the chance to come back because they want to work with that particular staff base. So I guess Taylor Walker, if nothing else, are pretty lucky to have that mob of people working at the Beehive Inn on Grassmarket. So
I think it might be bought over now. So right. Uninteresting fact.
Is it Green King now? Is Green King?
Yeah. Okay, sorry, detail bad. Right, back to you, Bants.
In terms of your own personal preference then, so when you're booking nights, so for example the weekend, or even, because you also do what's it called, Project X and Top Banana?
Yeah, so our programming is on Tuesday. We have, it's often called a new material night, but our idea is a new ideas night, a kind of comedy lab thing. It's experimental. It is, there's no holds barred. Whatever you want to try, come along and try it. Wednesday is our, I guess, the standard Red Raw night. night. It's called Top Banana. It's about finding new acts and giving new people a chance to try out. And we do it as a competition, but it's very friendly. It's not a gong show. It's not ferocious.
So that's how you scout? Is that like your...
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. And what we do is, it's kind of like the frog and bucket, which is people get 5 minutes and then a winner is declared at the end, and then they get to come along and do longer the next week or whenever it's convenient for them. Thursday is increasingly becoming, well, we wanted as a tour show night, but the big hit was always our improv stuff. So it's now owned basically by a group called Spontaneous Players, and they do a show called Spontaneous Sherlock, which is an improvised full-length Sherlock Holmes thing, and what they've and John's idea that they suggested, which is a Spontaneous Potter, which is a Harry Potter adventure that they do, and they kind of alternate that every fortnight, and they basically own Thursdays now. Fridays and Saturdays are our flagship weekend shows, and Sunday we call Progress. And it's a halfway house between our Wednesday Top Banana thing and getting to the weekends. It's like a weekend sensibility, but chilled enough that people can go, right, this is the next step. However, with all of that, we also have two rooms. We've got the main room and the original room, named after the very first LA Comedy Store. And we do all kinds of just bizarre stuff down the stairs as well. Like Thursdays we have like alternative nights. Sundays down the stairs, it's To Be Continued is an improv group who invite all the improv players in Edinburgh, all the different groups, and they do that. There's all kinds of stuff. Fuck, I can't even keep track of it.
But as to booking and what we do downstairs, because it's sort of on its own, it's got its own bar. Have you got an idea? You want to give it a go? Come give it a go.
I thought you were asking me later.
Yeah, well, if you've got an idea, mate. If you've got an idea. Upstairs, Friday, Saturday, Sunday are all booked by Rick Molland. He's the guy who works those nights. He compares those nights. He knows what it takes for comics to do well at those nights, and so he books them. Tuesdays and Wednesdays is a mix of everybody in the building. So Ben could put somebody in, I could put somebody in, Chris, David, Rick. If we feel, we see somebody, you got to trust the people that are in the building as well, and that's how you get into those nights. What I would say to anybody who's listening, going, hey, I'd like to come down and do comedy. Two routes, you can just come down, say hello. It's amazing the people that will happily send you 50 emails and but will not walk in the door until they've got a gig. I find it bizarre, but come down, say hello. Ben will be there, or I'll be there, or somebody will be there.
AM, PM, yeah.
Yeah, don't come at 9 o'clock, mate. I've got brewery delivery.
Yeah.
Actually, it is worth reiterating that there's a guy who kept communicating with us who was like, I hated reading the fucking stuff he was sending. He was just so objectionable, but he used to come. I didn't know it was him, but he used to come down and we'd come and see like all the midweek shows, and eventually he said, I'd like to do 5 minutes, and we'd gotten a kind of like pally relationship, and I went, oh, what's your name? And he said it. I was like, oh fuck you're that guy. And I went, right, okay, I guess you seem fine, go on. And he absolutely kicked it in the dick. There's this Rory guy, who, sorry Rory if you're listening, he's the guy, he does his puns, but it is the most beautiful puns I've ever heard in my life. Like, some of them are absolutely amazing. And as a result, like, he wasn't the asshole that he came across as in his communications. So that's definitely one way, is come and support the club.
Yeah. The other way is we just started Monkey Barrel Polytechnic. It's a bit of a laugh, but we do free courses, 4-week course stand-up, 4-week course improv. We're going to do 4-week sketch. We're also going to try and do, not be free, probably low cost. We'll try and offset the monies as much as we can, but clowning, acting for comedians, the next level, joke writing, because we want...
Also MCing as well.
Yeah, and so we just want to build like the skill level in Edinburgh particularly, and so we just finished week 3 of the free stand-up. There's 15-20 people in it. They will obviously get stage time with us and the opportunity to develop. Don't want to say favoritism, but if you come to the course, we see like you're well into doing comedy, why wouldn't we give you time to develop? And that's that helps Wednesdays, and it helps Tuesdays. If people are not everyone's going to be a weekend comic. Other people are they're not going to be an Edinburgh weekend comic. That's a different thing, I guess. And so we need to create space for them, and we need to help the skills grow. Because I think there are things in the Scottish scene that I'd like to see develop at a faster rate.
And also, I guess, pushing like-minded creators of stuff together and going, there you are. I mean, so one of the shows which was pretty good that we do in the original room, the down the stairs room, is our friend Phil O'Shea does Peter Pancakes Comedy Extravaganza. And every time we look at somebody who's a little more esoteric that we see coming through, going, well, you're not getting there a Friday, but Peter Pancakes, he might have something for you. I said that's so creepy. I didn't mean it like that, you know. But
look me straight in the face.
Again,
it's about going. You people go and do what you do.
And it'll help Phil's show, because what happens, you get more of a base. It's not the same people you have to rely on. You don't have to fill gaps with less, because it's supposed to be an out there alternative show. So you don't have to fill some of the gaps with, let's call it, more straightforward comedy, and so you can keep the vibe going, keep the whole thing by, again, building and building and building. And yeah, I think in Polytechnic could, an idea that we had for a muckabout, for a laugh, could actually do some decent stuff. Yeah. Ask us in 2 years if it has, I guess, is the answer. But yeah, so how do you get on in Monkey Barrel? The easiest thing is just come say hello.
Our guilt complexes are spectacular. So if you hassle us by email, could not give a fuck. If you show up and go, please can I get on? All right, okay, you can do 30 minutes. Is that enough? Please let that be enough.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess I think that's quite different to, it's not different to little pop-up gigs, because that's basically what you do. It's certainly different to the stand, and other than the stand, I think most gigs are weekend gigs. So they're just looking for people who've got the skills already, that are up and ready to go. Maybe Yes Bar will be different in Glasgow.
Yeah, but Yes Bar, so Yes Bar, I guess, is kind of on a par, as it runs a show, I think, every night. But I think there's an individual promoter that runs each individual night. There's not kind of one overarching management sensibility.
I think it's Viv Gee.
So Viv does the weekends, but then there's what's his name now? Chrissy Ross, who does the Sunday nights, and it's So, I'm sorry if I've forgotten your names.
But
because I'm a big time comedy guy now. I don't give a fuck.
But yeah, it changes. And what I say is, the best thing about people coming and saying hello is it gets you away from the bar or whatever tedious job you're doing. Yeah. So we'll quite happily have a chat to somebody and go right on your pop. So yeah, that's how you get on with us. Is come down, say hello, and then we start it.
Wank off our egos, and you're on, baby.
Yes. That's where I'm going wrong. Okay. Been wanking off other things.
Oh my god, your hair is amazing. All right, would you like to headline Friday, Saturday night?
Do you know how many? Right, everyone, email Ben and just have the subject line, your hair looks amazing. Just see how many people get voted.
God. Yeah. Right, I'll turn off your email.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, I just want to be clear here. I'm talking about my pubes, okay? I mean, I'm not talking about the hair on my head.
What else did you think we were... I thought you were talking about your chest hair, to be fair.
Well, it is.
Oh, God, don't do that joke.
We're chest hair...
Time to bust out of the material seamlessly into conversation.
Please don't. I'm sat beside two men who have aggressive hair.
Aggressive?
Yeah, Caine, baby, you fucking got it open. I mean, oh my God, that is...
What button? That must be...
Oh my God.
4 buttons down before it
That is like somebody has dropped black pasta on a floor.
Fuck you.
It is it's button number 4.
Do you know what I love? We were hanging out in Edinburgh this year. We went for a meal, and I can't remember what you said, but you said something like, "I wouldn't have that few buttons undone," or something like that. And I was like,
"So yours
is more dense than mine." This is gold for this podcast.
Mine just looks like a fucking Persian rug hung on your.
I need to show more to get the same density out.
No, I think you'd make people uncomfortable on the tube. That's
yeah, but I like that.
Okay.
All why do you think I don't take both Uber? Of you are holding little furry microphones. I can't see either of them.
That's a euphemism.
Why are you both wearing black t-shirts?
It's a euphemism, by the way.
Okay, right. Okay. We've gone wrong.
Right. So, last couple of questions I'm going to ask was: you opened and went straight to 7 nights a week, and as you said, most clubs are weekends, and most clubs when they open up sort of ease themselves into that. They don't, even sort of purpose-built things kind of try and take their time a little bit into getting to 7 days a week, just because there are different challenges, like you said, for weekend and for midweek and all that kind of stuff. Why did you do that, and how are you finding keeping the level of quality up that you want while balancing keeping open for 7 days a week?
We actually opened 6 days a week. We wanted to do 7. We just didn't think.
Occasionally,
occasionally we do 7.
So we found. So I guess one of the lucky things is that friends who were radio producers started putting radio recordings our way, and there would be other kind of like maybe muckabout shows or possibly even tour shows and stuff. So we would occasionally, it would be 7, but like enough for us to go, we're 7 nights a week.
But so why did we open 7 straight away? Pretty simple. If you're on a business where the majority of your costs is fixed costs, it makes sense to open it, and all you need to do on that night is cover your variable costs, your staff, your cost of goods. It's boring shit, but the fundamental is most of your money goes out on rent and all that kind of stuff. You'll be paying that anyway, even if you're closed. And so that's, if you have a pub, another type of comedy club where you're in someone else's venue, you might strike a different deal. But we're paying most of our costs anyway. So all you need to do is have a night cover for its variable costs and a little bit more to contribute, and it makes it worthwhile. Also, it's legitimacy. You get to go, right, we're a genuine comedy club. If we hadn't have done it, we probably would only be open 3 nights a week. It's now, and you may as well, from our point of view, is open it and see what happens. And things will be a bit shit every now and again, and you go, okay, well, let's address that, let's try and work that out. It would have made life a lot easier if we didn't. Financially, it makes reasonable sense. Sometimes you think, why are we opening? Because we made almost no money. You're like, well, almost no money is not no money. But that's very rare, and it is increasingly rare. I think Wednesdays are now pushing along very well. We have Edinburgh Review University downstairs every second week. So Wednesdays exist because we decided to open up. If we hadn't opened up 7 days a week, I don't think the Wednesdays would be anything like they are now. So by opening up essentially every night, you can evolve quicker than I think. Because at the minute, I think we'd be at a stage where we'd go, right, we're gonna now open on Thursday. What's Thursday gonna be? And you spend so long going, it's definitely gonna be this thing. You don't get Thursday wouldn't be basically Sherlock and Potter improv nights if we hadn't have the whole thing open. So it helps in that regard. It helps us, I think, be a genuine comedy hub. Where I don't know, are places that are opening just the weekend comedy hubs? No, they're just
they're not communities, they're not comedy communities.
And so we're working harder to make that even more the case, particularly with downstairs. And getting part of me didn't really think about not opening. We just assumed that's what you did. Opening a comedy club, great. Let's open every night.
That's why we call him Lord Sugar Daddy.
Okay, that's the second glass of wine nearly finished. It's getting worse.
I think of the same thing as that. It was just always going to be open all the time, immediately.
Even now.
Because I guess when the Stand they did the same thing. Maybe they were only 6, but what I don't think the information I didn't have at that time was that they'd spent so long building up each of their nights by trailing it around other Edinburgh venues before they hit the place that is theirs now. That to all intents and purposes, it looked like they'd showed up in a building and then just went, here's everything, and perfect to begin with.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the thing I like about this, doing podcasts like this, is you only really see the end result normally. And for me, the process of getting to that result is a lot more interesting, generally speaking, than the actual end point. Yeah, so I think every comedy club that we ever modelled the place after was always open for, if not all 7 nights, at least 6, at least 5.
And to be frank, if we wanted stage time, we weren't going to get it on Friday, Saturday, Thursday. Well, not that we weren't going to get it, we just didn't want it. Like, if we wanted to be weekend comics, I don't think we'd have ever opened a comedy club.
Yeah, I mean,
we spent time becoming good weekend comics.
Yeah, why are we good? I think at what we do, if I can say that, is because we won't book ourselves for our own weekend gigs. We look into ourselves and go, I wouldn't. Don't send me a clip. You're not getting booked. You're not even doing the 10 spot. Don't even worry about it.
I've got a great visual of you just emailing John going, please put me on this week.
please consider me.
No, not with that hair.
No. What are you kidding me with that joke?
Another hair comic.
Because we used to do it. We used to put each of us on when we did the Beehive. Yeah. And I think we understood, like, A, we don't want to be that. And B, we aren't that. There are genuinely people who are better that we can manoeuvre into places where they will be better for the good of all things. Well, not the good of all things. Christ, that sounds fucking like I'm a wizard or something.
Well, that's what you originally wanted to call the club.
Oh my god, do you want to hear what the club was going to be called? Fuck a dog in the ass.
Okay.
This is so funny.
Well, okay, go on. Why is it called Monkey Barrel?
Okay, why is it called Monkey Barrel?
Let's answer
So when we knew we were going to move, we thought, well, we're not going to be the Beehive Comedy Club. We need something that we can move and take in its hours. I was like, okay, so I come up with all these names, all these names, like, like name it after comedy movies you like, or significant comedians, or routines, or something, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, well, and it was one of those days where you'd been spending, it was a Tuesday, and I was staring at a screen trying to come up with a name for a thing, and I was like, what about the way ABBA did what they did, and like ABBA, it's all, something to do with the people who are in it. What about taking the name John Millar and Ben Verth and putting it in one of those like algorithm machines on the internet, because I'm a cool hip guy that knows technology. And just going like, what words, what names, what things come out if you rearrange all those letters? And so it was just and then there was okay. So one of the things that came up was Merlin's hernia, and I was like, "Fuck, that's it, Merlin's hernia. That is funny." I can even imagine what the little comedic sign outside was going to be. It was like going to be a wizard in a sparkly purple cape holding his side, going like that, and then people would go, "Hey, we're gonna go over the hernia later on, or we're gonna go over the wizard." And I was like, "John, mate, it's Merlin's hernia. Start getting the headed notepaper ready, because we are doing this."
Like that's the first stage of a comedy club.
That's
headed notepaper.
Headed notepaper and badges. That's how business is.
I can see why he's on board now, because he's just like, there is a lot more than
John.
What do you do with a budget, Ben?
We got it.
100,000 tiny pens.
100,000. We're going to need more than that, fella. Get back to the supplier right now.
If you get 250,000, they give you a bulk discount. Get on it.
So I remember going, Merlin's hernia. Fuck yes, this is what we're going to be called. It's going to be so funny. People are going to laugh. It doesn't sound disgusting at all. And I went around to a pub to meet my girlfriend at the time, who I went, let me tell you, sit down, you're going to need a drink for this. It's called Merlin's hernia. And she just went, oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, what are you talking Merlin's hernia? Why don't you call it something like fucking Monkey Barrel or something? I went, okay, yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Cancel the order.
John, you haven't bought the 7 billion pens, have you yet? Tell them to stop. We're calling it Monkey Barrel? Monkey Barrel. That's what it's called. Anyway, we're not together anymore.
Well, you and John.
Yeah, that sounds like we have broken up.
Yeah,
so
I've taken Monkey, you have taken Barrel.
So anyway, so that's why it's called that.
Okay.
Because I was, as so often is the case, wrong as fuck.
Do you know? Okay.
But also, I couldn't think of anything interesting.
Well, you wanted to call one night that we were going to do at the Beehive as a new material night, just called The Laughter. Like just
that is so creepy.
Just creep. Like, I mean, like, I'm saying it creepy, but it's like let's just start the ball rolling and call it The Laughter. It's like, what the kind of laughter you hear before you knife a guy at a bus stop or something? Like, what?
So I had I think knock comedy was something I had, and I think there's
Live Laughter was another one as well. Live Laughter.
Live Laughter was something else. So 100 ideas before I had a comedy club. But yeah, I wanted to call it knock comedy. Yeah. But I was told that was too boring. And eventually. It doesn't really matter what you call something. It's about what you then do on the back of it that imbues that with...
Well, I mean, your daughter Derek would have something to say on that subject.
He certainly wouldn't. But because I got a friend who had an estate agency firm, and he had the most bizarre name ever. It's called Movate, M-O-V-8. Doesn't make any sense. Can't spell it. People say it and they go, "What? How do you spell?" But it's a big business now, and people in Edinburgh now understand what that means, and it's linked intrinsically with that business. Names are,
Yeah, like why is it Zoopla?
Because all the good domains are taken.
Because it's so yeah.
You sound like the German Empire in 1911.
all the good names. All the good names.
I like
Britain's got them all.
So that's it was not a horrific name. Seems to suggest it's not. It's a bit of a laugh, and so that was it. We went down the classic pick an animal.
But it does seem quite lucky in that one of the most successful marketing things I think we do is John's idea, but of course, is that rather than just when we go out flyering, we also give out free bananas. It's not just like, here's a flyer, it's here's a banana, also here's a flyer. And it's like it turns out people fucking love bananas. What would we fucking hand out if it was Merlin's hernia? Like colostomy bags? I don't know. I mean, boil in the bag curries or something. I don't know.
Oh man, I might take this out, but I tell you what, I had an idea for a show for next year.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna, I've already emailed like a few places, and I was gonna have it at 2:30.
No monkey barrel, mate.
Not yet, because
Checked our inbox this
We're
morning.
going to have it at 2:30. It's going to be called The Dentist Show.
yes. Do you know why? No, do you know why?
What?
Do you know why?
The dentist show.
So it's going to have it
it's
at
just gonna be called The
2:30, and it's
Dentist.
going to be 2:30.
2:30.
Yeah, but do you know why? Do you know why? This is why. It's shit, but here's why. Because I want
fucking
people.
hell.
Listen. I want. Let me explain to you why it's good.
Okay.
Because I want people
This could take a
around
long
Edinburgh.
time.
Around Edinburgh.
Just remember who you're talking to, mate. The industry. So pitch the shit out of this, mate.
This is how
Take
I
this
pitch
as
a show.
industry feedback. It's shit, mate.
This is how I pitch a show.
If it's not us telling you, mate, it's going to be Barry Free Angel or
hang on,
Nika
hang on.
Burns or something.
Let me tell you this. So what I want is people around Edinburgh to be reading the magazine, and I'll turn to their mate and go, should we go see the dentist? And I'll go, sure, what time's it on? Oh, for fuck's sake. I just want people getting angry repeatedly over and over again about how stupid that is, and then coming to the show and going, that's shit, but we're here.
That is the vibe of the Edinburgh Festival
Yeah.
anyway.
I
So
mean, come on.
Any title you can do just to get people in the door.
Could
That's
you?
what it's all
But
about.
you've got to admit that would drive you insane if you read that in the brochure. It would be.
I would probably glance past that, and it's somebody who'd called the show "Fuckity Fuck Bucket: The Fuck Bucket Adventures of a Fuck Bucket."
That's my other title.
That's like, so you will get like top trumps in any name game you play, or comedy.
I really do hate it when they do that other thing, but I thought mine was quite funny, but alright.
it is quite funny.
But not funny enough.
Okay, good.
Okay, just work on the actual show.
I am, but the problem is I need a title before I start working on it. That's the problem. So I've got the title, and now I've started working on it.
So
I've already
Called
booked
The
5.
Dentist.
So-
At the moment, yeah, I'll probably change it when I got to the.
it's called The
application.
Dentist. It's at 2:30, and it's about how your dead father spoke to you from a dream to tell you had gum cancer, and how your whole life is now much better, and you are now married to the 3 girls that you love.
No, my dad's not dead yet, so I can't do that show.
Okay.
I've been waiting.
Well,
for him
that's
to
a lack of commitment, mate. That's what that
you
is.
saw my.
The big question though is, where would it be? The Dentist 2:30 at it needs to be at a certain place. Can't just go at like the Assembly.
Well, at sweet venues, that would be.
Yeah.
That would be the place to go.
I was actually emailing. I have already emailed. I actually emailed the Fud Shop because I thought that'd be a fun place to do it. Be like why would you see the dentist at a Fud Shop?
Come to see a show because your produce requires people to go to the dentist because it's so horrifically bad for your teeth. Every night at 2:30.
Yeah.
Well, we've got an in with the Fudge Shop. Our friend Ray works.
Oh, I know
there,
Ray.
so,
Yeah.
okay.
That's how I got the in with the
Oh,
Fud
yeah,
Shop.
you did his afternoon teas. Yeah.
Well,
So-
plus I know him a little bit, so he's nice. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Good guy.
Okay, well, over on his Facebook page, he thinks you're a cunt. So.
I'm sure he does. Everyone does. Name me one person that doesn't think I'm a cunt. And that brings me.
Me?
Yeah, right. That means. Okay, let's do 2 quick fire questions and then wrap up.
So that means we can absolutely burn it if this is not going to.
No, let's not do that. Let's take the last 2 questions seriously,
Sure.
and you can finish that glass of wine.
Okay.
So first one is, who is the most underrated person in the, let's say, Scottish comedy circuit? You can't say Vladimir. You're not passing it back.
Probably. Is he underrated? Is Naz underrated?
Oh, Naz is a good show.
So I think he's doing interesting things. I think he's, as well as trying to get a comedy club in Aberdeen, he's also
Naz Hussain,
Yeah.
who runs Breakneck Comedy in the northeast.
And so he's going out into sort of regional areas and doing, it's not just got a city centre one. He does a lot of things that I'm quite jealous of. That why don't we do? But whether we get round to it. But he was certainly seriously influential in Aberdeen Comedy Festival becoming a thing. So he's doing a lot. I don't know, is he underrated? I don't know. I don't know who rates people really. So he's doing really good things. I think he deserves a lot of credit for what he's doing in a bit of the country that comedy was pretty non-existent before he started it. I'm sure somebody will turn around and say no, it wasn't, but he at Naz Hussain is doing great things.
Do you agree with that one, or you want?
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, and the other thing is, I'm going to slightly edit this because I was originally going to ask you what's the biggest problem with the Scottish circuit and how would you go about solving it? But I feel like you kind of covered that with the progression issue. So maybe if I change it to what is the biggest problem in the Edinburgh Fringe and how would you go about solving it?
Well, I think John's already talked about that right at the start. I think that because there are two behemoth free I'll be a bit more caustic than he was, is that I think because there are two big behemoth free organisations, what it actually brings as well is because there seems like there's a genuine power struggle rivalry. It also brings I genuinely think there is a seedy element to the free fringe now that exists, and that could all be swept away. Like genuinely, we could get back on track of being a meritocracy by just having, as John suggested, smaller, more passionate, more rigorous organisations.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's just a lot of power in too few hands, and I get it in the paid for because that's money. Money makes that a thing, and if you want to break into that, it'll take time. But for the free, there's simply they got there first, so they inherently have a lot of the real estate, I guess, and I think that is unhealthy for comedy, and I think it's inevitable it'll break up. It's just a case of time, because younger people come into the game and they go, this is how I want to develop things. This is how, and at some point it will become fragmented, and there'll be even if there are 5 or 6 large-ish free things instead of 2, and I think that'll start, and then I think it'll feel more like the Fringe. It'll be what I imagine people would hope the Fringe would be, is lots of people just independently trying to do something interesting, and I don't see why, if we expect that from artistic output, why we wouldn't expect that from the organisational element of it. And I think that's where it will go. I just want to also end by saying they have done great things for the Fringe. What PBH and Laughing Horse latterly have done has been tremendous for the Fringe. I just think that part of the Fringe will evolve, and will evolve into more independence, and it should do.
Want to say anything else?
I have great hair.
Let's end it there. Thank you very much for coming. That was Ben and John. I adored hearing their thoughts about how there's too much power in the hands of too few venues. I loved hearing their thoughts on local comedy awards and how they can elevate individuals as well as clubs and make a real difference to people's lives and careers and businesses. There was so much in this that I really enjoyed, talking about the Edinburgh Festival, talking about the Scottish circuit, which I love going up and doing because gigs in Scotland are just amazing. For me, this is a really fun one, and it was a really nice opportunity to get a couple of mates in a room and chat about comedy, really, and the industry in a nice relaxed environment. So I hope you got a lot out of that as well. If you like this episode, you can look up the pods with Mark Tuggan, who founded the Glee Club, Barry and Sarah, who founded the Angel Comedy Club, and many, many more. Seriously, go to my website, click comedy clubs, and there's about 13 of them all around the country. So not like comedy clubs, there's 13 podcasts that are linked to people who have founded comedy clubs. That's a better way of saying it, isn't it, Simon? Before I forget, our first ever day of panels is coming up on the 17th of February. It's from midday till 5 p.m. and it's at the Bill Murray in Angel. It's specifically for people who are doing their first hour at the Edinburgh Festival or who are looking at going up and doing their first show at the Edinburgh Festival. Personally, I think a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this, and it's going to provide a lot of answers and debunk a lot of myths. Come down with your questions. There'll be 3 panels. There'll be one that includes a bunch of venue owners where you can ask them stuff about how they run, how they operate, how to know what room to pick with them, how to avoid pitfalls that they've seen people make time and time and time again. I'm also going to have one with a bunch of PRs, which allow you to ask them exactly what they do for you, exactly what they won't do for you, exactly when to approach them, how to approach them, what not to do, all the stuff that you're used to with this podcast, but you can ask your own questions directly. And in between every panel, there'll be time to mingle and chat. It's in the Bill Bill Murray in Angel in London. I'm sorry if you're abroad. I can't help the location of where I live. But as I said, it will be recorded. If you buy a ticket, you'll get a free copy of that recording. If you're a patron, you'll also get a free copy of that recording. If you want to buy a copy of that recording, it'll be on sale a few months after the day itself. So please do keep an eye out for that. Tickets are £20. There's a link in the show notes, and I'm doing it as a profit share for me and all the guests, which means that they can have a bit of money to cover their expenses like travel and food and all that stuff. They're basically doing it because they believe in this podcast, they believe in the event, and they believe that this is a good thing to have a dialogue with people. The Bill Murray and the Angel team are really supportive as well, and I actually have plans, assuming this one goes well, to do the same thing again, but for the TV industry, where I'll have a panel of TV commissioners, a panel of independent producers, and a panel of people who freelance in the industry who have worked in it for more than, say, 20 years to come down and talk about their job and talk about how you as a writer or a producer or a comedian can break into whatever area you want to. So if you want to support me, you want this to go well, please spread the word. Please tell a friend. If you can't make it, please tell someone who can. That'd be really helpful. That'd be really appreciated. The event is taking up a lot of my time and it's a lot of effort, but I think it's worth doing because long term this is going to be something that I'd like to carry on doing more of, where we all get a chance to network and talk in a safe and comfortable and lovely environment where it's not really as pressured as normal networking. I hate networking. I want to say that up front. For me, networking is really stressful. So I like being able to just talk to people in an environment where we know why we're there, but we're not like pressured into feeling like we have to talk or that I have this, it's just a nicer environment I'm trying to cultivate for people who want to quote unquote network. So if you want to come, it's the 17th of February. It's from midday to 5 p.m. If you have a look on the Facebook event, it'll tell you when the panels are. So if you only want to come to one or two of them, you can. And in between them, there'll be a gap of half an hour, 40 minutes, whatever, where you can talk to people individually, learn about them a bit more, and talk to the people that you'll be working with, hopefully, for all of August, say next year, but also going forward. I personally work with the same people over and over and over again because I know they're decent people. I know they're amazing to work with and I know they're not going to screw me over. So look at this as not a short-term thing if you want. That's all I'm going to say on that event. But do check out the link in the description. It's got a Facebook event and a ticket link. If you're new here, please do hit the subscribe button. If you're old here, please do give us an honest review in iTunes. And either way, please do consider joining the Facebook group or giving us a donation. If you've enjoyed this and you think it's worth £1, please send it my way. It would be really appreciated. And if you wanted to give a regular donation, you can go to patreon.com and donate from as little as $1 an episode. Was this worth 80p? I think so. I don't know what that translates to in other countries because I know we've got a big influx of listeners in America. So obviously I don't need to do any conversion there. Australia and Asia. So I'm not sure what that converts to, but in England it's about 80p. Still about 75% of the audience is there. Please do donate. If you're listening to this at the time that it was originally put out, which is January 2018, I've been asked by Ben and John and the whole team at Monkey Barrel to make you aware that they are taking applications for the Edinburgh Festival. So if you think they are the kind of place that your show would suit, please do go to their website and have a look and apply. You can do that at monkeybarrel.co.uk. All links for that are in the show notes, or you can just search Monkey Barrel Comedy Club on Google and I'm sure it will come up. The RC Industry Podcast is a Fruit That Got in Gravity's Way production for the internet. All elements were created by me, comedian Simon Caine. Thank you very much for listening, thank you very much for subscribing, and thank you very much for rating and donating if you do. I'll see you all in about 14 days' time. Bye!